handling the wet weather. Somebody told me we had 9.5 inches in this week while I've been gone, but is that right? It not near as bad as I thought in some ways, and really good. It was really interesting. It was a great trip. It was an educational trip, tiring. My wife's not here today. She got sick yesterday coming in on the airplane. She goes, I got to go. She's sick. She got some kind of crud that's going around. So she's already resigned herself that she's going to the doctor tomorrow. Billy, could you pray us in before we start? Amen. I am sick of the advertisements on the phone, even when you try to pull up your Bible. Are y'all running into that? Maybe it's probably something I'm doing wrong because I'm technological backwards. If you're in your curriculum, we're at 170. And I want to kind of break this down a little bit before we start, and then we'll go over and regurgitate, and we're going to go over it slow. If anybody's got anything to add in while I go, I'll go slow, and please. We're getting down to his trial. James gave us a real, what's the word I'm looking for? A pictorial, I guess, with pictures in your mind. You left pictures in your mind of Christ's trial and crucifixion and how brutal it was. What I got from this, and please, he went through 6 different trials. Is that right? 6 phases. 3 of them were religious. The other 3 were governmental. Anybody got anything to add on that at all? Before we start, during these trials, a couple of things happened. Now, I can't say for sure due to not understanding it or lack of study maybe. I know Peter denied him while these trials were going on, and I like the way Scott put it. This little girl kind of snitched on him. Yeah, I saw you with them. Yeah, I saw you with those apostles, and she did. So that's where we're headed now in this journey. But he had 3. He went to Annas. He went to Caiaphas. He went to the Sanhedrin, which was a group of people. So he saw one at a time, saw a whole group. Then he went to Pilate, and here they go. They got in a political discussion. And Pilate was scared. He really didn't want any part of this. So he said, he sent him to Herod, and Herod said, well, you're a Galilean. So they got in a political ping pong match over what to do with him. It's basically what it was. So really, if you think about it, things hadn't changed all that much, have they? And I'll ask later. But my thoughts were, man, some of these people out here this is going to lose me votes. They wasn't really cared about. I think they knew it was wrong, but they weren't really as concerned with that as they were their political backfall or backlash due to lack of a better word, backlash would be, that they were going to receive from, oh man, people might be mad at me for this, instead of doing what was really right. But to say all that, I say this, it was destined to happen anyway, no matter what anybody did. It was going to happen. So that's where we're at. So we're starting with 170, the first trial. I'm just looking at King James right now. And they led him away to Annas first, from the garden, I guess, of Gethsemane, for where he was for he was father-in-law to Caiaphas, which was the high priest that same year. Now Caiaphas was he which gave counsel to the Jews that it is expedient, this is what they're trying to do, that one man should die for the people. Now, it's open for discussion on that. What does he mean by that? I'm reading in John 18, 13 through 14, 13 and 14. One man should die for the people. It's like those saying, somebody's going to go to prison. But they were trying to end this once and for all, weren't they? As we get to verse 19 in John 18. And has anything really changed? Do you think some of them that were in this deal, as all this is unfolding, do you think some of them were really scared to say, hey man, this might really be the real deal here? But a lot of people were going along with the crowd. And how long has that throw one under the bus been around? But we all do it, don't we? Let's pick up with John 18, verse 19. Talk about the high priest then asked Jesus about his disciples and his doctrine. Jesus answered him, I spoke openly to the world. I always taught in synagogues and in the temple, where the Jews already meet, and in secret I have said nothing. Let's stop right there. What is he saying? He don't say much, but is he trying to take up for himself, or just what's he saying there?
You've never listened to me.
Exactly.
Why should I say anything now?
And go ahead. No, go ahead, Scott.
Now also, one of the things they accused him of is being an instigator, but he just said, I said everything out in open. I wasn't saying it behind anybody's back. I said it in front of everybody.
So they're trying to,
Secretly trying to overthrow the government. He was just telling them the truth in front of everybody. And he was just I think he was trying to bump one of their theories that he was secretly going behind their back and talk, because he wasn't doing it.
exactly. He said, in secret, I've said nothing.
I think that's what that statement really kind of.
That's what I'm going to ask.
That's not.
No, a lot of this is our opinion. So a fancy word that I learned while I was really more at work than in college was he wasn't a demagogue. Was he really a rabble rouser? Or did he just tell the truth? That's what's going on here. As they get him in this court, why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me. He goes on to say, what I said to them, indeed, they know what I said. And when he had said these things, one of the officers who stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, do you answer the high priest like that? Me being in that field, it goes back to the golden rule. You want to treat everybody like you would be treated. Why would this officer just sit there and strike him in front of everybody? I know we've come a long way. As bad as things are, we've come a long way. Would we have an officer that brought somebody in the courtroom and he said something and he'd just haul off and hit him? No matter what, that wouldn't happen today, would it? It might happen in secret, but he did it right in the open. I thought that was pretty huge. In other words, he just, no, I'm not going to do it as demonstratively, but he just gave him one of them. That wouldn't happen probably today. That would happen in secret. I don't even think it happens in secret as much anymore. Jesus answered him, if I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why do you strike me? Okay. If somebody strikes us like that, are we going to say, what'd you do that for? Or are we going to retaliate? I thought, is that not the epitome of self-control? No matter. I mean, we have, here again, I told you when I taught this, I've sinned. I've done a lot wrong in my life, and this is my weak area. When somebody's done something to me, I have a hard time forgetting it. And y'all pray for me because I'm praying for me myself on that one. Then Annas sent him bound to Caiaphas. So here goes our next trial, the high priest. Let me see if I can get to 71. The second phase, and this is getting closer where Peter's going to die, but let's go to the second phase in Matthew 26. Starting with verse 57. And I know this is regurgitation after James did such a good job of the description of it. I told him that was great. So I can't do it near the justice he did, but he's for the Sanhedrin. And so in Matthew 26:57 it says, and those who had laid hold of Jesus led him away to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. So now he's going, I get a vision of a semicircle, and he's in front of them. But Peter followed him at a distance to the high priest's courtyard, and he went in and sat with the servants to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false testimony against Jesus to put him to death. What are we talking about here? They sought false testimony. What do you think? They sought false testimony. Any ideas?
Guilty before the trial, in their eyes.
But they found none. You're exactly right. They already had, it was already a setup, wasn't it, Tom? Even though many false witnesses came forward, they found none. So do we have that happen today? We had it happen not long ago in this country. But at last 2 false witnesses came forward and said, this fellow said, I'm able to destroy y'all remember this? Destroy the temple of God and build it back in 3 days. And the high priest arose and said to him, do you answer nothing? What is it these men testify against you? Okay, let's go back when it's getting near his death and he's at the temple. He did say this, did he not? No, he was not. He was not.
And they should have known that.
I think they did know it.
They would never get it.
But this is what they had on him, right? This is all they could find. Do you think this was somebody, though, Kenneth, that overheard this when he was talking to his disciples? And they went out to the Mount of Olives next, and he was talking about his end, and he was going to come back and be with what he was talking about. But do you think this was somebody who overheard these words and they used him maybe? That's my thoughts on it. I'm like, Scott, I can't interpret it perfectly, but this is all they had. But Jesus kept silent, and the high priest answered and said to him, I put you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. And Jesus said to him, it is as you say. Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power and the coming on the clouds and of the heavens. Then the high priest tore his clothes. We're always tearing our clothes. Every time something big happens, it never, people always tore. But this was the big deal of, hey, I am stressed out, or this is, they always tore their clothes. Like Billy said, they'd be buying a lot of clothes. Saying, he has spoke blasphemy. What further need do we have of witnesses? Look now, you have heard his blasphemy. What do you think? They answered and said, he is deserving of death. Then they spit on his face and beat him. And others struck him with the palms of their hands, saying, prophesy to us, Christ, who is the one who struck you? Prophecy to us, Christ, who is the one that struck you? That's what they're saying. Christ, who is the one that struck you? You think the way and this is just an observation I'm making. Y'all all heard what happened in Frisco this weekend to that kid at the track meet. Has anybody not heard about that? That is a horrible story. I don't know if you hadn't heard. Kid goes to a track meet. The other one goes. This one kid goes, and I've done it. When you go to these, they have different. I didn't have tents back then. They had benches. When we got ready to run the mile or whatever, you go sit and you get organized for your event. Well, this kid went to the wrong tent, the way I understand it. And the kid says, hey, you're in the wrong tent. And he just stood up and stuck a knife in his heart. 17 years old. And when they asked him, he said, no, I did it. Kid died. He had a 4.0 grade average, already going to get a scholarship. Good looking kid. Tuesday. Yeah, he was a twin. He was a twin. And this kid, now, do you think you think my whole point in this story, do you think they're going to bring him in the courtroom this day and time and beat him like they beat Jesus here? Ain't going to happen, is it? And Jesus hadn't done near that. So he got treated pretty bad, I guess is my whole point of this. I don't.
They would say prophesied really right. What good would it have done? Because he had been doing miracles all this time. They didn't believe him. What would another miracle have done? They were out to kill Jesus, regardless of whether he told them who did it or not. They'd have found something else.
Their mind was made. Their mind was made. There was not. Now you think about this, and we're going to talk about it later. How many hours do you think all this rigmarole lasted? I shouldn't call it that, but it was. This procedure, trading him all over these places, going through 6 phases, it was 18 hours. 18. How wore out do you think he was in 18 hours? We don't go through anything, and we're tired after being up 18 hours. We're pretty tired, and he had been going through it. So you can put himself in not only the physical, but the mental. People snarling, and they don't have to, I don't know how, I'm sure it wasn't any calm, what's the word I'm looking for, exchange going on with them. Jesus was, but they weren't. They used all the rhetoric they could with him. Let's move on to 172 on our curriculum, and that will carry us during all this is going on. This is what Scott brought up the other day about the little girl, but we're getting to Peter, and Peter's following them all this time. I've already talked about that. He's going around following. Why do you think he's following them? Does anybody have any comment on that? Before this, but it hadn't happened yet, has it, Tom? But is he thinking, boy, I don't have it, And also, this has got to play out.
Well, you know, at this point, he'd already denied Jesus twice. At this point, if you follow the scripture.
Okay.
So, you know, he'd already denied Jesus twice. You know, the next one's the one I was talking about, the little girl.
Yes.
Place, you know.
And we're going there.
He did feel guilty. Like Tom said, he probably did feel guilty.
Okay. You're probably right. I figured he had already slept off after these, but it takes this third time, don't it? So let's start in 69. Now Peter sat outside in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him, saying, "You are also with Jesus of Galilee." But he denied before them, saying, "I do not know what you're saying." There's another denial, right? And when he had gone out to the gateway, another girl saw him and said, "Those who were there, this fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth." But again he denied with an oath, "I do not know the man." And a little later, those who stood by him came up and said, "Peter, surely you also are one of them, for your speech betrays you." And then he began to curse and swear, "I do not know the man." Immediately, a rooster crowed. And Peter remembered the words of Jesus, who said to him, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." So he went out and wept bitterly.
You know, Peter was, his humanity, he was afraid because he knew that it was going to be some tribulation for him later on. But he still believed in Jesus. But his faith hadn't grown enough to stand up for him at this time. But it will grow.
Does this teach us to forgive others? This teaches me a good lesson here. People make mistakes. I think this is the biggest example in the Bible. This is Michael's opinion, that we need to forgive people.
We got to grow. We got to give people a chance to grow too. Christ gave Peter a chance to grow, and he did grow.
He took him back with open arms after his crucifixion, did he not?
Came back and preached the first gospel sermon, and
Let him that thinketh he stand take heed lest he fall.
Where is that at? You probably know.
I can't think of it right.
Okay, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot because I don't know where it's at, but I'd like to know.
You know, I suspect the rest of his life he thought about that moment, the day he denied Jesus. You know, you wonder what gave him so much strength. Well, the Holy Spirit did, but he never forgot this point in his life. You know, and we have those times in our lives where we remember something we did and we go, you know what? I've got to be better than that.
So if somebody's struggling that we're working with, or we come in contact that just thinks they cannot be forgiven, we could go here and show them they could be, couldn't we?
I mean, yeah, look at it. The first time he just kind of lied. Second time he took an oath, and last time he cursed.
Yeah.
I mean, he got worse every time he denied Jesus. Probably someone that if you'd been looking on the outside, you go, that guy could not be following Jesus the way he's talking. But, you know,
he regretted it. Thinking about it, Paul's another good example. He regretted killing Christians. He said, I'm pleased.
I didn't even think about that when I was doing this.
You know, when Judas betrayed him, he handled it a whole lot different. Then he not killed himself. He felt so bad. Peter,
We're getting to that.
he didn't. I mean, he felt bad, but he didn't handle it the same way.
And exactly. And we're getting to that.
1 Corinthians 10:12.
Okay, I knew you'd find it. That's what I can go back to it and look at it now. You want to read that for us, Tom?
Already stated it.
Okay, you stated it.
I don't know what you call it. If you go to this account in Luke, I had to look it up because I thought I remembered it. At this point, verse 60 and 61, it said, and Peter said,
I'm there right now. Go ahead.
okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Immediately while he was speaking, the rooster crowed, and the Lord turned and looked at Peter. So Jesus was in the eyesight of him. He looked at Peter, and then that's when Peter remembered him saying, this is going to happen for him. Can you imagine that moment?
Oh, I can't. I'm going to tell you what happened to me yesterday. It's a little bit personal, and it makes me feel bad. There was a man that, when I worked at Red River for 10 years after I retired from the prison, there was a man there that was not a nice guy. And I saw him in Walmart yesterday, and I didn't make the first move. He looked at me and said, well, how you doing? And I thought, it was, man, I got shot. I thought I was going to, like I've been shot with a shotgun. I said, man, that man was mean. And he, you know what, I said, well, I'm doing great. How you doing? And you got to let go of these rough feelings no matter. And this is a perfect example of it. And this world's not about who can draw first. And in some ways, I need to learn that a lot. And this is a perfect example of it. Okay, 173 is 27 and 1. And I'm glad Scott went to that other account of the gospel. I didn't. It was listed here. But I didn't realize he looked right at him when that happened.
Luke's the only one that mentions it.
I know, and I'm here to.
Man, that's some powerful stuff.
When you make eye contact, you don't have to say anything, and you don't have to look at anybody mean. But eye contact's very important, and it was key then. When morning came, this is only one verse, all the priests, now you look at this, when morning came, all the chief priests and elders, the people, plotted against Jesus to put him to death. So he's in front of all these people. That's just another phase is all I'm mentioning there. Now, Billy, let's go to Matthew 27 and 3, right there where we are. We've talked about Peter. Now we're going to talk about Judas. Then Judas, his betrayer, seeing he had been condemned, was remorseful, and he brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I've sinned. This is in verse 4, Matthew 27, by betraying innocent blood. And they said to him, now what is this to us? You see it. Any comment on that? What do you want us to do about it? Or we don't, what is it, what are they saying here? Peter's denied him, Judas betrayed him. That's what I get out of it. You see it, and I'll have to go look that up. I have not looked that up in a commentary, and it's another man's opinion. Then he threw down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. But the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, it is not lawful to put them into the treasure, because they are the price of blood. And they consulted together and bought with them the potter's field to bury the strangers in. Therefore, that field has been called a field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled by what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, and they took the 30 pieces of silver, the value of him who was priced, whom they of the children of Israel priced, and they gave them for the potter's field as the Lord directed me. So the priest they didn't put it in the treasure because they felt bad about it after that, I guess. That's what we're saying. Oh no, we don't. Why didn't he just, I'm asking a question here after I read. Can somebody tell me why they just didn't give the money back to him? That's just, boy, I'm putting myself in wide open. We don't know. He would have still hung himself, I think, because he felt so bad about it. It didn't matter.
Being sorry for sin is not repentance. It's important, but it's not repentance. It's not a change of heart. He was sorry for his sin.
He was.
Didn't repent. Hanged himself.
Are we trying to say he's sorry he got caught?
He knew he did wrong.
Or he wouldn't have done, he was trying to make some recompense from it here, wasn't he, Tom? He was trying to do that. So look what's unfolding while this is going on. There's a lot of things happening, aren't there? Okay, so we go to Matthew 2, I think it says, and then 11 through 14, the way that reads to me. Matthew 27, verse 2. And then when they bound him, and when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pilate. Okay, the governor. So let's read 11 through 14 in that same chapter. Jesus is standing before Pilate, the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, "Are you king of the Jews?" Jesus said to him, "It is as you say." And while he was being accused, the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then Pilate said to him, "Do you not hear how many things they testified against you?" But he answered him not one word, so that the governor was marveled greatly. How was he marveled at this, when he wouldn't take up for himself, or what? I think that's it. When he said, man, you ain't going to say nothing? That's what I'm getting out of this. Yeah, aren't you even, don't you want to take up for yourself of what these people are saying about you? What was, if somebody please, what was Pilate's feelings at this point? Do you know? Nope. Okay, then let's go to Luke 23, 6 through 12. So Jesus, he gets sent to Herod now. When Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked the man, were Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod. That's what he did. Tried to get it out of his ball court. That's what this starts with. And then Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at that time. Now when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he had desire for a long time to see him, because he had heard many things about him, and he hoped to see some miracle done by him. Y'all want to talk about that at all? So he's sitting up there in his palace, I guess, and he heard about all this. He wanted to see some magic or something, right? He wanted to see him do something. Then he questioned him with many words, but he answered him nothing. And the chief priests and scribes stood and vehemently accused him. Then Herod, with his men of war, treated him with contempt and mocked him and arrayed him with a gorgeous robe and sent him back to Pilate. That very day, Pilate and Herod became friends with each other, for previously they had been at enmity with each other. Explain that to me. You think Pilate was happy that Herod sent him back to him? Why did they become friends? Bible, as far as I know, it doesn't explain it. Was it over political issues? They got involved in a situation like we're involved in this trade now with different people, and maybe The president don't even know some of these people, and in a situation of adversity, he gets to know them. I don't know.
Pilate saw that even Herod didn't know what to do with him. Neither one of them did.
Outstanding answer. I never would have. That's right. In other words, Tom, are you saying they were in the same situation? So anybody that has something in common, if a problem is commonality between them, that could cause them to become friends. There again, I've never been able to, and I'm asking y'all, why are they so scared of this? If everybody wants this, are they scared that he really is the Son of God? Are they scared it's going to take their votes away?
It's political.
It's totally political.
Pilate didn't want to upset the people because, like any other Roman, he just wanted power, he wanted money.
And he didn't want it taken away, did he, Scott?
Anything to cause that to go away. That's why I wanted Jesus to leave. He just didn't want to be a part of it. He wanted Herod to take care of it. Herod didn't take care of it. And Herod didn't want anything to do with it either. I think Herod just wanted to be entertained.
So we're passing the buck, right? Is that what we're doing here? And Jesus is the buck. And nobody said the buck's stopping here yet. And really, in the final analysis, y'all know what the people stopped the buck. It wasn't either one of these guys. Huh?
I knew that he was innocent because he told the people, free this innocent man who washed his hands. He did.
That's right. Pilate did. He just did that in demonstration to say, I'm not going to have a guilty conscience because I really didn't do it. He was doing what we all do. I know Michael does it, is try to rationalize something when I know it's wrong. And I'm not talking to y'all, I'm talking to me. There's right. So we move on to Matthew 27, 15 through 26. This is the civil trial still going on, and this is the third phase of it. How tired do you think he is by now? He's pretty worn out, don't you think? Do we ever see, and we know that, but do we ever see where they try to give him a drink of water or anything during all this time? Any food, anything? No. And yes, that's correct. And that wasn't what any of us would have wanted to drink at that point. Me, with my appetite and the way I love water and drinking and eating and all that, I'd have probably tried to drink that vinegar. But at any rate, (27:15), the taking the place of Barabbas. Now the feast of the governor was accustomed to releasing to the multitude one prisoner who they wished. Releasing, that means letting go a criminal. That's what we're doing, right? And at that time, they had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they had gathered together Pilate and said to them, "Who do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ?" For he knew that they had handed him over because of envy. While he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, "Have nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things today in a dream because of him." Anybody want to comment on that?
Better listen to your wife.
Amen.
This is gonna, we haven't really gotten to it yet, but he chose Barabbas because Barabbas was the worst kind of guy there was.
Absolutely.
Mark says he's an insurrectionist. He was basically a domestic terrorist. I mean, that's what he was. Worst kind of person he could be. So that he was trying to give them a choice to choose somebody. The fact that they chose Barabbas was kind of beyond him. Because he didn't think they'd ever want him back.
Exactly.
The mob mentality involved with all this.
Why would they want this guy?
Yeah.
to be released.
He's a bad person.
Yeah, he was a bad hombre.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me when we had and I'm glad both of them got out, but we exchanged one for a bad Russian dude that was a bad prisoner, done a lot of things. Let him go. I think they could have found somebody else to have let him go other than him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitudes that they should ask for Barabbas and destroy Jesus. I'm in verse 21. We're going to 26. The governor answered and said to them, which of the two do you want me to release? And they said, Barabbas. Pilate said to them, what then shall I do with this Jesus who you call Christ? And they said, let him be crucified. Then the governor said, what evil has he done? Why do you think he even asked that? To cover himself? But they all cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. And when Pilate saw that he could not prevail at all, but rather that a tumult was rising, he was having a riot, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. You see to it. Do you think they would have killed Pilate right then and there if he hadn't released him? Things were getting pretty heated. I don't know if they would have killed him, but
Well, they would have just not so they caused trouble, and then if they caused trouble, and that was trouble for Caesar, and if Caesar got trouble because Pilate didn't do his job, then Caesar might have killed Pilate. You know, Pilate was just trying to keep everybody happy, so he didn't get.
Caesar was a bad hombre.
Yeah, because Caesar didn't want problems.
That's right. He did not. Everybody did what Caesar said do. And that's who, in the final analysis, wasn't that who they were really scared of?
Because I mean, there's always somebody to take Pilate's spot. You know, one politician dies, Caesar just replaced with somebody else.
Okay, we're in the last verse of this, and then we're going to stop, and we'll take up with 178 next week. Then he released Barabbas to them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. He didn't scourge Jesus. I guess he had his soldiers do it, and I don't know why. That's
He's a just man.
he was.
Just admitted it.
That's my point, Tom. I don't know. Maybe he was losing control. But we'll start with 178 next week. We just got through, okay. Yeah, we just got through with 177, so we'll begin with 178 next week, and that is Matthew 27 through 31, Jesus mocked by the soldiers. And then we'll start on the hill to Golgotha after that. Thank you for your attention.
I hope your wife gets better. Oh, I do too. They watched, got the, on the planes, they spit something. Closed environment.
They tried to get people to give up a seat on our plane.
What do you mean more about Ben? Yes, but